I'm going to be using Minitab Express to conduct a chi-square test of independence concerning coffee and tea preference. I'll be entering data as a summarized table. Here's the research question. Is there a relationship between liking tea and liking coffee? We collected data from a sample of 100 adults. We asked each, do you like tea? Yes or no. And do you like coffee? Yes or no. Here, our data are presented in a 2x2 contingency table. Let's use the 5-step hypothesis testing procedure to address this research question. Step 1 is to write out our hypotheses. Our null hypothesis is that liking coffee and liking tea are not related. In other words, they're independent in the population. Our alternative hypothesis is that liking coffee and liking tea are related. In other words, they're dependent in the population. In step 1, we also need to check assumptions. The assumption of a chi-square test of independence is that all expected counts are at least 5. We'll use Minitab Express to compute the expected counts for us. Let's go there now to enter the data. In the first column, I'm going to list our row variable, which was likes tea, yes or no. And then our columns represented whether or not the individual likes coffee. So likes coffee, yes, and likes coffee, no. We had 30 individuals that said yes to each question, and then 25, 10, and 35. So these numbers are coming right off of that 2x2 contingency table that we saw earlier. To conduct our chi-square test and also check that assumption of the expected counts, I'll go to Statistics, Tables, Cross-Tabulation, and chi-square. We have summarized data. The columns containing the data are columns 2 and 3, and then our row labels were in column 1. Under Display, we need the chi-square test statistic, and we also need the expected counts in order to check our assumption. In the first table, we get our observed counts and our expected counts. Our expected counts were 22, 33, 18, and 27. These are all at least 5, so this assumption has been met. Now we go to the second table, the chi-square test table. Because our assumption was met, we're going to be using the Pearson chi-square test statistic and the p-value associated with it. So we'll be using the first row here. Let's go back to the PowerPoint slides to continue with our 5-step hypothesis testing procedure. We've already written out our hypotheses, and we used Minitab Express to check the assumption that all expected counts are at least 5. In step 2, we state our test statistic. On all of your lab assignments, remember that you need to copy and paste any relevant Minitab Express output. So here I've copied the chi-square test table. We're using the Pearson chi-square test statistic. So we have a chi-square with 1 degree of freedom, which equals 10.77. In step 3, we state our p-value, also from this table. P equals 0.0010. In step 4, we make a decision. Our p-value is less than the standard alpha level of 0.05, so we're going to reject the null hypothesis. And in step 5, we state our conclusion. There is evidence of a relationship between liking coffee and liking tea in the population.